This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
On a cold April day, Ben Hylden tried on his suit coat for the upcoming school prom, then sped toward nearby Park River, North Dakota for an appointment. Running late and driving too fast, he lost control of his car on ice, flipped the car, and was thrown out the passenger's door, plunging face first into an icy field. Ben's face and body were crushed, along with his dreams of being a basketball star. As his battered body lay in the field, Ben's life seemed to be coming to an end. However, it turned out to only be the beginning of a remarkable journey of faith that showed him glimpses of life beyond this world and gave him a new perspective on what matters most. Valeria Teles interviews Ben Hylden, the author of Finding Faith in the Field. Ben Hylden grew up on a dairy farm near Park River, North Dakota, where he went to high school and played basketball, football, and track. However, on April 6, 2007, at the age of 16, everything changed. Ben was in a near-death car accident that left him with a 5% chance of survival through all of his injuries. Miraculously, Ben did survive and began on a journey of recovery and faith, where he was inspired to write a book, Finding Faith in the Field, during his junior year in college, and start a career in public speaking where he shares his story. Meet Ben at benhylden.com. Here's the interview with Ben Hylden.
In your own words, who is Ben Hylden?
Ben Hylden, he used to be a boy. I grew up, but he went through a lot of hardship. I would say I became a child of God. I would say that's who I really am. That's who my overall goal is, to be as a child of God, to know myself first, and then to know God, and to really share a light with people in my life. You know, that's the overall goal, is to be a child of God so I can be a light in other people's lives.
When you say know yourself, how would you describe that experience of knowing oneself?
For me, it's knowing myself. For me, it's a very, very deep thing, where it's in my soul, it's in my heart. It's not the flesh, it's not the world, it's something within you that you find. And for me, it's finding yourself within the kingdom of God. And that's where my journey has led me to these. I would say my journey spiritually started when I was 23. I was in college, and I didn't really know what it meant to be a child of God, or I did works. I tried to do good things, but then once this journey, this spiritual journey came, that's where I found myself. I became what you would say, I became a little child. I became, before the world took over and all the temptation took over, who I was back when I was like 5 years old. And that's where I found myself. I'm like, it's ironic though, because a child is what you would call the weakest in the world. But at that point, that where you're so pure, you haven't been stained yet. That's where I found myself, and that's where I realized that I'm a child of God.
I love that way you say that the
being a child, yes, we have these ideas that being a child, it's weak and it's not a nice thing to be. But it's quite the opposite, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, pure, being pure, honest. And it's beautiful. So God, what, where, and who is God to you?
God to me, I grew up in a Christian home. So I grew up going to church, going to Bible camp and youth group. So when I was growing up, I had this idea of God. I had this thought of who he is. I had the thought of Jesus Christ. And as I got older, that thought became faith. And so as I got older, I started to separate myself from my own thinking of what I think God is. And God is everything. God is a part, he's a part of everything that was created that is natural. And so for me, God is a part of all of us. That's how we're connected. We are made in the image of God. And for me, the only way to God is through Jesus Christ. And so it's not a man that you see in a picture. It's by faith. It is purely by faith. And if it's not by faith, then it's your own thinking. And so it's something within you very, very deep. So something very spiritual.
I love the way you said that. So if it is a thought or an image, then it's not it. It cannot be it.
It can't, because it's not faith.
My idea of what God is unconditional love, as I talked to you off record, I believe. The closest that I can kind of get to with the human mind is unconditional love, in the sense of embracing everything that it's here with love. Unconditional love includes everything, in a sense of the good and the bad, that we all humans have tendencies to express, the good and the bad. And not expressing the bad might lead actually to some problems, a lot of issues, as we see addiction and violence. So from your perspective, Ben, would the idea of God that you believe in and have faith in include in love everything as it is, or discriminate and judge?
Yeah, I would say, love, that is when I find myself, I am one in God, one through Christ, and one in love. Love is the most important spiritual trait that you can have. It covers so many things in life, so many wrongs in our lives it can cover. It is something that we should all be striving for, asking for, praying for, is love. And I would say, God simply is love. He is the definition of love. And like you just said, it includes everything though. It's not, life will never be your fairy tale story where everything goes perfect. There's always going to be trials and things that go wrong. But that's why we have love. We make mistakes, but we forgive, and people forgive us. And that's a part of love. Would
you also say unconditional love? Do you believe it's possible to accept and love everything unconditionally?
Well, I would say anything's possible with God. I would say as humans, as our own effort, our own, what we can possibly do with our own effort. I don't think that we can, I guess, but through God, we can do all things. And that's, if we have an enemy, let's just say we have an enemy, is it possible to love your enemy? Yes, it's definitely possible to love your enemy. It's possible to have compassion on your enemy. And that's, those are things as humans, you would think, oh, that's impossible. But it's not. It's not.
What do you think the purpose of the human experience is? Why are we here?
Boy, that is a good question. That is, I would say, it's something that you can go back to the very, very beginning. Our minds cannot understand or go back there because we weren't alive back then. But I know the Spirit of God gives you understanding and knowledge. But it would, for us, I mean, me personally, my life is to glorify God. That's like what my purpose is I feel so good when I'm glorifying God. I'm me. Like I am myself. I am my own person, and I don't lack anything. Even if I have, even if I have very little in the world's eyes, I don't lack anything. And so, me being content, me being a light in other people's lives and helping people, sharing my story, my inspiration, that is glorifying God. And that, I guess that's what I would think overall is for us to enjoy our lives also, because it goes right along with it, is glorifying Him, and He gives us the experience of life of true enjoyment.
So that shows that the faith that you speak of is in alignment with that truth. When you feel whole, complete, nothing's lacking, the way you are, when anyone is. That, to me, that's very profound. Thank you for saying that, Ben. And, I have a question for you, the open questions about death. What do you think is the meaning of death, losing the body?
Well, I've been there. I have died essentially twice. And so my experience on this earth, you can go really deep into it, but I'll just kind of say it in a nutshell. On this earth, we're flesh. We are skin, we are bones, and we all die. That is something that's crazy to think about. But when I was 16 years old in my car accident, I experienced that. Did I ever plan on that happening? No, I didn't, but it happened. And so this is where this comes from, my own experience. When I died, I had a flashback years later of what I saw, what I experienced when I died. And you go from flesh to spirit to eternal. And so the meaning of death, for ones who are children of God, it is honestly a celebration. We go from our flesh to spirit and to have eternal life. And what I experienced during that time, what I saw during my life, it was something that I always kind of lacked faith growing up in God and in Christ. But after my experience, after reliving that, it was something that completely changed me, because I felt my new spiritual body. And so death is really is just the beginning. For everyone listening to this, it is just the beginning. This is we only 90 years that we're on this earth, and then we die, and then it's eternity.
Would you say that before the death or losing the body, we are also the infinite? We are also spirit?
Well, for me, yeah, we definitely have a spirit. Right. We have our own spirit. We have our flesh. We have a human spirit, but the spirit that I pray for every day is the Spirit of God, and that makes me whole. That's what makes me content. That's what makes me filled. When I have little in this world compared to everybody else, or if I do, and I have in the past where I lack things that other people have, I still feel full. I still feel good. And that's when I am full of the Spirit of God, and it connects with my own spirit. It's a perfect harmony, I guess you would call it. You know, it's working hand in hand, and it's what you would call your new creation, your new self.
So in a way, the Spirit of God that you speak of was never born and will never die. That is eternal and infinite. There's no beginning or end.
Yeah, it's God gave us His own Spirit to help us to you know, when we're down and out, you know, we all go through different hardships, you know, and that's where I've really found God, His own Spirit, is when I have been at my lowest. There was always this light, this glowing light in my life, and just like when I was younger, I didn't know what it was. I was just like, man, this intangible thing keeps carrying me and not letting me give up, even though I want to give up in my own human self after my car accident. But there was something that carried me along the way that gave me all these spiritual qualities of inspiration and perseverance and hard work, you know, where you just keep fighting. You just don't give up. And I know it didn't come from myself. And so as I got older, I just realized that this is what you were saying, the eternal Spirit. My mind can't wrap around it per se.
Right.
But it's evident in my own life.
Yeah, that sounds like a miracle to me.
Yeah, absolutely a miracle.
Yeah, to be able to merge or recognize that infinity, the eternal within you. I would call that a miracle. But talk to me about your own definition of what a miracle is.
Well, I think as humans, depends on who you are. You have a different idea of what a miracle is. One can say a miracle could be really anything. And many miracles happen every single day. I mean, when you think about it, farmers in this world, a seed in the ground, when water and sunlight hit a seed,
right,
it grows.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
What? That's
yeah, that is a miracle.
I know that's a normal thing for us. That's normal. But like, who made that way? You know, like that's incredible. So miracles, you know, for everybody, I'm sure their definition's different, but I would say something that's out of your human control, your human possibility of making something happen, when you have nothing into something. And so in my own life, I've had many miracles happen. Some that have saved my life, some, you know, that are just simply beyond us. It's beyond human. Right. And so it becomes a miracle.
Being in the human body, having this experience is just the ultimate miracle to me.
Oh, yeah. Every day. It's
right?
Just like, oh my gosh, I'm a lot, like I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you right now.
Yeah.
And I am a living being. Yes. And that's a miracle. Absolutely. Because I didn't choose to be born. I wasn't somebody before, you know, I didn't put myself into existence.
That's amazing. I mean, amazes me that we can even talk about these things.
Yeah.
Wow, Ben, I love that. Yeah, right. The way you just said it. I didn't choose to be here. It just happened. And this is a miracle. It is a miracle.
It is. Yeah,
I agree.
Absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is. The mind doesn't understand, right? You wrote the book titled Finding Faith in the Field. Talk to me about how you became a writer and what was the main inspiration and intention of writing your book.
Well, I can honestly say I was never a good writer growing up. It's a miracle that I wrote a book. Yeah. I mean, to me personally, people would think, oh, you must like writing.
Yeah.
No, it was completely an inspiration. I was a junior in college. I was given the idea after being on a radio show, after sharing my story of faith and survival. on a radio show to write a book. And I thought to myself at that point, I'm like, yeah, I'm a junior in college. I'm a high school basketball coach. I have a part-time job. It's impossible to find time to write a book, and I'm not a good writer, so I don't have this inspiration to write. So I went home, went down my room, and I remember when I walked in my room, my mind completely flipped, and I just simply had this inspiration, like I need to write down my story. And that night, I began writing my story down in a notebook, and I did that for around 9 months. I wrote in the same notebook, and after many edits and things of that nature, I got it all down, and it was a miracle to me because there was many days where I was thinking to myself as I'm writing, literally as I'm writing, how am I doing this? Like, where are these words coming from that have never been in my mind before to write this smooth or good? And it was just there. It was just simply there. And so my hope from it was that my story would just give people inspiration. It would give people hope, really. I mean, sometimes in life, man, we go through a lot of times where we feel like there is no hope. And a lot of times in my life, I have felt that. I've felt at the depths of where I don't even want to be alive in my past, where I just felt there was no hope. But truly there is. Truly there is. I mean, in Christ, in God, that's where I found hope. And that's what I hope, but I hope to share with other people is the same hope that I have experienced in my life. And the best way I could do that was to write down my story.
Thank you so much for doing that. That is a very honorable and beautiful intention to have. And I love the way you talk about this being a miracle too. And that goes back to the child that you speak of, being a child of God, wondering, almost living in this reality that is very different than most of us are and come from, with wonder, with seeing the magic and the miracles everywhere. I see that the way you speak, it's beautiful, really beautiful, Ben. Thank you for being the messenger of that.
Yeah.
You founded a Christian clothing brand called Purified. You also have a health company named Purified Health. Talk to me about these companies you have created.
Yeah, so when I was about ending my book, I had this idea to make a shirt because I love to work out. And so when I'm working out, I always I try to live, each day I try to live a spiritual life in God. And so when I'm working out, I like to be reminded of things when I'm I see myself at the gym or things of that nature, and to remind myself of what's truly important. And so to know that we are forgiven, we are purified by the blood of Jesus Christ, to me is something very special. It's something that is in my inner being. And so when I remember that, when I'm reminded of that, that was just where the idea came from. And it just, people buy them to wear them wherever, it's just to share I guess you would call it the good news, the gospel. And then now this is a different part of my story that's actually not in my book.
Right.
The food part.
Yeah.
Now that's a new journey. When I was 23 years old, I was squatting in the weight room, and I broke my SI joint. I had a herniated disc, or actually two, and I was told that I had degenerative disc disease in my back. And so that was shocking. I mean, I'm a very, very active 23-year-old that loves to work out, loves to run, loves to play basketball, just loves to move, loves to be alive, moving. And so that was heartbreaking. Now I recovered kind of from that after being laid up for a while because I couldn't walk. But after that, I started on a new journey of health, and simply God has been teaching me about his food versus the world's food, and all of his food is natural, is, you would call it organic, or and the world's food is made by humans. And so to heal myself, he just simply, very childlike, just simply taught me, eat my food, find food that heals. And it's like, well, that sounds really simple, but as we grow up in this world, our mind gets trained. It craves certain foods that you grew up with, things that are heartwarming or things that you want when you're a kid. And so it's not as easy as one might think to just simply eat, good food. And so I went on this journey to heal, and I went into the doctor actually this past year and found out that my back had fully healed. And that was from that, which is another miracle to me, because it was like, oh my gosh, it actually worked, where I've been eating all these foods and I don't even know when it healed. It might have healed a long time ago, but I've been eating all these different foods like spirulina, chlorella, phytoplankton, all these natural superfoods that have healed my body. And now I help other people with their health, where I'm like a nutrition coach to help people with ailments or things that are wrong with them. And so I'd simply tell them what he's taught me, and that's to make sure you get enough water, enough good water, sleep, organic food, exercise, and so I mean, this, like, it's just the basics of life.
It sounds very natural and kind of fundamental, but you're right. We just forget about it. That's why it's very important to be reminded of these things. And I love your idea. So it's a reminder, the products you have and the way you have set up in that sense as a businessman, it's really trying to remind us the way to live in alignment with the natural world, which you call the world of God, of the Spirit that wants the best for us. So true. Thank you for doing that too, Ben, for being open to that wisdom.
Absolutely.
So that can come through. So going back to your book, talk to me about not all the stories, because we want the audience to buy the book. We don't want everything to be disclosed. But talk to me about the near-death experience you had and the healing journey after that.
Well, it was the near-death was like, as in the car accident, you mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So it was April 6, 2007. I was going into a back therapy appointment actually in Park River, where I'm from. And it was Good Friday, ironically. And I went down this gravel road that I usually take into school because it's the fastest way into town. But I lost control that day on a little bit of ice, and I started swerving. But I always thought, oh, I'll get back control. But I didn't. I went down to the ditch. I hit an approach, flipped my car into a field numerous times, wasn't wearing my seatbelt, was ejected from the vehicle, and I laid there. I remember it all because I had flashbacks of what happened after. It was actually a year after my accident. I had flashbacks of what I remember until I stopped breathing in the field. And so what I remember was laying there and thinking, I'm a 16-year-old. I never thought about death. I'm a high school kid. I was into sports. I was into girls. I was into all the things that you're into when you're 16 years old. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I knew everything had changed when my face hit the ground. I went face first into the frozen field. Everything changed in that moment. My life going forward was never the same. It never has been, and it never will be. And this is where that was the start of my understanding what's truly important in life and what is deep in life, the deeper things, the things of God, and the things of the Spirit. And that's where my faith in Jesus Christ, I would say, first truly started, but I really didn't even know it at the time. And so I laid there. I had no hope. I knew I was going to die. I had numerous injuries. And then I remember there was two people that came and found me. I knew it was a woman's voice and a man's voice. And I didn't know who they were because my eyes were completely swelled shut, so I couldn't see them. I could faintly hear them, but I knew they were trying to help me. And so then they were holding me, and I was in my own mind. What was going through my mind was, I'm going to die. This is the end of my life. And all the memories of life began coming back, honestly, of all the good times of life, especially my family, my mom, my dad, my brother, and my sister. The love for them was flourishing in my heart, wanting to say goodbye to them. I remember, obviously tearing up, knowing that this is it. And then I essentially stopped breathing, but I'm talking to you right now. So I obviously did come back. And so to make a long story short, I was then transported to All True Hospital in Grand Forks. I had a traumatic brain injury. My brain was bruised and bleeding. My entire face was completely shattered. My palate was broken in half. I had bit through my tongue. I had cracked 7 ribs. My pancreas, small intestines, liver, and lungs were all bruised and bleeding. And the artery in my right leg was crushed. So I would lose parts of my organs, my right leg, and probably my life. The doctors told my parents. Now, I can't go into all of them because I know we don't have time, but many miracles happened from then on that saved my life. That day on April 6th to bring me to today, to talking to you. And I would say, to me, one of the miracles that meant the most was when I woke up from my coma. I saw my mom and dad, and my mom and dad, they told me about my accident. And at that time, I didn't remember my accident, but those two people that found me in the field were my parents, actually. My parents that day were going into an appointment in Park River, and they never, ever take that road until that day, ever. And on that day, they took that road, and they ended up finding me, their son, in the field. And those were the two people that were holding me and were there until the ambulance came to, just to help me. And my mom, I guess, she couldn't recognize me at first because my body and face were so full of blood and so distorted that she couldn't recognize me until she saw my feet. My feet are long and slender, and she recognized it was me then. And that's when they started praying for me. And I'll be honest, I didn't deserve a second chance. There was nothing in my life that I did to say, hey, I deserve this. God simply gave me grace. He gave me life again, and he answered prayers of people. There's many people who don't make it, and he just gave me a second chance. And so I just want to share that, is that I know I didn't do anything to deserve it, but I thank God, and I try to use my life now to be a light, to give people hope and bring faith in the world.
And I can hear the gratitude in your voice, yeah, in the way you tell the story too. Wow, you've been through a lot.
Yeah, it's been a journey, and that was just the beginning. I mean, there was just so many trials after that. I'll just share one thing. people say, "Oh man, Ben, you made it. I mean, life is good." It's like, well, I'm still human, and there's still life to go. I'm only 16 years old, and all these injuries that I have to overcome. And yeah, I am very, very grateful that I'm alive, that I'm still in this world sharing what I'm sharing. But it wasn't all roses. It was definitely, there was very, very troubling times, especially in the first year, where there was a point where I had worked myself back to play basketball again a year after my accident, and I was playing, and then all of a sudden I had a what's called post-concussion syndrome, and I had to quit school, quit basketball. I lost every single thing that I'd worked for, and that was the point of my life where I wanted to end my life. And I know there's people in this world, and maybe people that are listening to this, that are thinking to themselves someday or one of these days, is it worth it? Is it worth it to keep going? And absolutely, there's always something to live for. We just have to find what you're supposed to live for. And I didn't know who I was back then, and I didn't know what my purpose was in life. And so I understand how your mind can sometimes convince you that there is no hope and that it'd be better if you weren't alive. I get that. But all I can say to those people is reject that idea, reject that thought, and flee from it, because you will find that window of hope, and you'll go through it, you'll go through that door, and there you find the light. And it's been time and time again in my life where my life has been filled with hardship. It hasn't been easy, that's for sure. But the one thing that I've found through it all is I've found the meaning of life, and I've found joy, I've found contentment, I found love. That is something I think that we always underestimate, is so important. Everyone always feels like love is this thing where it's like, oh, that's nice, and love is powerful. Yeah. Love is so powerful.
Yeah.
And so that's what we should be searching for.
And I have a question for you. When did you establish that so powerfully and profoundly, that faith in God? Do you remember that moment, or happened without you being aware?
It's more so been a journey. It's been asking. It's been really, my faith has strengthened through trial. Honestly, it's as I keep enduring trials, my faith gets getting stronger and stronger, because when I get into a jam in life and I think, what am I supposed to do? The Spirit always tells me to trust. But my own self is always worrying and wondering, well, can I really trust this time? Can I really put my full trust in that you're going to take care of me? And every time He inspires me to trust. And every time He has never failed me one time, and the things that He tells me that will happen. And so it's been, there's been moments, don't get me wrong, there's been moments of an awakening, you would say, spiritually. But my faith is continuing to get stronger day by day by day, where when I pray, I believe that what I'm praying for will happen, where we are to believe in what we pray for. We are not just to say words and not believe them. When you pray, we got to have faith in what we're praying for, having faith that God will take care of us. And so it's never been through the good times, but here's the beauty of it, is that going through the hard times lets you truly enjoy the good times, where you have contentment, you know who you are, and you are able to truly, thoroughly enjoy every moment that is good, because you have overcome all the bad. And so that's it. It's beautiful. It really, it's full of love and beauty, and it's all through faith.
At this point in your life, do you believe that you have any control over your life? Or this is something that you don't believe that anymore? You have now surrendered or emerged with that realm of the spirit where there's no choice to be made anymore?
I think, spiritually speaking, there's a fine line of what you say, what I can control. There's times where I've found freedom. I've found freedom that God lets me do things where I do it through Him, where I do it through His Spirit. I become pure. Where when I do things, then I do them for the right reasons. Which before He's always trying to teach me that when you do these things, I want you to have the right intentions. I don't want you to fear. I don't want you to worry. I want you to do them wholeheartedly, enjoy them. And so, when I say, or when you say control, if I'm trying to control my life, I would say that's something that is more so human, where I'm trying to do things and like make my own way per se. But God, He opens up literally anything, where you literally are given freedom to do many things as He lets you really do, where He has a kind of a course for you, but He lets you do things along the way that are fun, and where I get to truly enjoy my life, and I get to venture off into what I love to do, because I'm doing them for the right reason now. And so that's kind of been the teaching of the Spirit that He's taught me, where do things through me, and you'll be given freedom to do all these things, and you'll do them and then truly enjoy them. And so I think that the possibilities are endless. I think that whatever I think I might do or might not do, I could be definitely wrong, where really anything could happen.
I love your wisdom, the wisdom that you allow, that you're open to flow through you. It's really beautiful, Ben. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and I love when you say no fear. Yeah, there's no fear there.
No fear.
That's something that we all need to be, not just to know, but we need to be reminded of. So thank you for being the messenger of that remembrance, that we don't have to fear anything. I have a few more questions for you, the ending questions. Would you like to add anything or read a passage in your book?
I don't have my book here with me, but there is something that I want to share. For me, it's been the key to becoming who I am, finding myself. And I think I touched on it a little bit, and I'll just say it very briefly. But to everyone listening, for me, the key that God has taught me, and this is opposite now of what the world teaches. The world teaches you must become strong. And that's true. I'm not saying that's not true, but the key to become strong is to become a little child first. Become one with God through being that pure, innocent little child, finding yourself, and then becoming that new creation. And that is the way that Christ has taught me. He has taught me, don't try to do it yourself. Do not go on your own way. You don't trust your own wisdom. Don't trust your own understanding. Understand that you're only human, that you were created, and trust in me, and become that little child. And you will find me. You will find me, as in God. And that's how I found him. That is literally, I got out of my own way. I was always in my way, trying to do things, trying to make this work, trying to strategize, trying to force things that I just couldn't make happen. And once I let go and I humbled myself to be that little child, everything flows. Everything's in harmony. You're one with God. You're one with really the world, everything that was created, where you are, yourself, and everything that he wants you to do will be right in front of you. He'll give you the wisdom, he'll give you the understanding, and most of all, he'll give you love to spread that light, that perfect spiritual gift with the entire world. And that is all through faith of a little child. And, it's and it makes sense to me now, especially going through it, because it is the key. But just knowing that before the world, if we were to think about ourselves right now, we have to pay bills. We have to do all these stresses in life. We have to perform. We have to do something to make money. But when we were 5, we were taken care of by our parents. We didn't have to worry about money. We didn't have to worry about anything. We were taken care of, and it's the exact same thing that he's trying to teach all of us. Is he is our overall father. He is the overall, and to become that little child to him, and he will take care of us and let us enjoy our lives to the fullest.
And my final question to you, I have way too many here because of the time. I'll ask you this one. What are 3 things about life you know for sure as of this moment?
As of this moment, I know that when we die, if as believers in Jesus Christ, that he was killed and he rose from the grave. I know if you believe in that, if you believe in that man, that in the next life you will raise from the grave also. Like, you will raise to be spirit with him, with God. And that is the promise. And that is what I've experienced. I've experienced it. And so I want to share that with people. That is the hope that we are given, that he not only saves our soul in this world, but he saves our soul for eternity. And so that is one thing that I am very, very sure of. I'm also very sure that I'm also going to have more trials in life. That's something that people don't like to hear. They don't want to hear that there's going to be hardship in life. But it's something, once you learn how to embrace it, once you learn how to take your hardship and make something better out of it, make yourself better. Like, when you're sharpening a tool, you're grinding that thing. You are pounding that thing. But through that grinding and that pounding, you make something that is very useful, very productive, and very good that you can use. And it's the same way in our lives, where we go through hardship. I mean, we go through hell on earth sometimes, and we've all been there. I mean, we've all experienced sadness. We've all experienced a loved one dying. Everyone goes through it. But through all those times, if you can learn how to embrace it, you will make something truly beautiful, which is your own self, making your own soul, your heart, your mind, everything beautiful. And so that's another thing that I'm sure of, is that going through hardship, that we can make something good out of it. Third one, there's very little things that I really, I follow a straight and narrow path where I'm just content with what I have, and I pray for things that I want to do in the future. The things that I am certain of, I am very certain that that honestly, and I know we've touched on this different times before, but the most important thing to ask God for in life is love. And I know that we've talked about it, but I just want to embrace that, because every time that I feel love, God reminds me, this is why it's so important. You not only get to enjoy your life, you make the lives of every person around you enjoyable at the exact same time. And you're also pleasing him. You're pleasing God at the exact same time by living through him. And so because God is love. He is the definition of love. And so that is the goal. That's really the goal, and I'm certain of that, and I think we as people, we get so preoccupied by, especially in this day and age, by getting followers on Twitter and Instagram, and we kind of lose track of what it truly means to know yourself and what truly is important. And I've been there. I'm not saying that I don't experience that. I've been there, but I always gotta watch myself so I don't get off track, chasing things that aren't truly important. And so that beauty, the beauty of love, is what I would say is the most important thing to chase, because it connects everything in life.
Thank you so much, Ben, again, for your wisdom, the way you expressed that wisdom, which is coming from the higher ground, or the spiritual realm, as we call it. And the work you do, your presence is in this reality, doing what you have to do to spread the message. Thank you so much again.
Something that I always like to share with people, especially when I go out and speak, because that's what I do now. Is I'm a speaker, so I go to churches and things like that and share my story. Is that I always want to share with people something that it kind of gets lost in the world, because in this world it is very popular, and it's something that people think they have to do. Is that in order to be a believer in Jesus Christ, you have to go to church, or you have to read your Bible. And the truth of the matter is we are the church. We are the body of Christ. We are the believers. We are the church of God. And so I'm not saying that you shouldn't go. I'm just saying what God truly wants is He wants you. He wants your heart. He wants your soul. He wants you to trust Him, and He wants you to live by His Spirit. And so it's not about works. The works will come. The works will come after you find yourself. Then you'll set out on your journey. You'll find what your purpose is. But that's always something that I just want to take that yoke off people's backs by thinking that you have to do this. It's no, you don't. What He wants out of us is faith. He wants us to believe and to love, and then live our life through that. That is truly what He wants.
Before we say goodbye, Ben, where can we find more information about you, your products, books, services, and future projects?
You can find it at benhylden.com. And so that's BENHYLDEN.com. So yeah, you can see my videos, my speaking, my book, my clothing line on there, and you can contact me if you're ever in need of a guy to help you with nutrition. I'm always open to that. So yeah, it's that's where you can find everything. I'm also on Facebook, just like my book speaker page is Finding Faith in the Field, Ben Hylden, and so you can find me on there. And so yeah, if anybody wants to contact me, you can go there, and I'll respond as soon as I can.
I'll have your website on the podcast profile too. Thank you so much again, Ben, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Ben Hylden and his work, please visit benhylden.com.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.